Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Sorrow of Omega's Broken Heart. Book 2. Episode 19. Chapter 250. The place in my dream. The next day, Rose reached university. She was feeling well today. She slept well last night. She went to her classroom and sat in her seat. The teacher had not come yet, so she was watching out from the window. Rossi. Rose turned her head and saw Alice had come. Alice sat in her seat and asked, "Today you are early, what happened? Did you not sleep last night?" Alice smiled at her. "I slept well last night. I fell asleep early. Then when I woke up, I saw it was early in the morning. It's good that you slept well." Rose and Alice were talking when they saw Delilah entering their class. Rose raised her hand and called her. "Delilah." Delilah looked at her and smiled. She went to them and asked Rose, "Hi, Rose. How are you feeling today?" "I am fine, Delilah. Thank you for informing Alice about me yesterday." Delilah shook her hand. "No, it's fine. You can sit here," Alice told Delilah while signaling her to the seat in front of their seats. Delilah looked at Rose and Rose nodded at her. Delilah sat there but she was amazed at Alice's sudden behavior. "Thank you Delilah for yesterday." Alice thanked Delilah. Delilah shook her head. "No, that was my responsibility as a friend." Rose smiled at them and said, "Now both of you, do a friendship handshake. You two are friends with each other." Alice and Delilah laughed at her. Alice turned her head to Rose. "What are we? 5? Friendship handshake? Seriously Rossi? Oh, come on, Alice. Are you both friends now?" Rose asked. Alice nodded her head and Delilah smiled. "Good," Rose said. They were talking about the projects and Taylor joined them too. "By the way, Rose looked at Taylor. "Yes?" Taylor asked her carefully. "I forgot to ask you yesterday." Rose asked, "About what?" "What were you doing with Alpha Arvin on my birthday night?" "What?" Alice shouted. Rose was taken aback to hear his question. "What do you mean, Taylor?" Alice asked Taylor. "Yeah, Rose was with Alpha Arvin that night, or I can say late night." "Late night? Rossi, I thought Mark dropped you home quickly but he didn't." Alice asked Rose. Rose was silent. She was thinking about how she could explain everything when she didn't even know what had happened apparently because she was drunk. But the next day all she could remember clearly was his insults and how he dropped her home. "Taylor, tell me everything now," Alice said. "Actually, I came out of the club because I needed to take a call. But I saw Alpha Arvin and Rose talking with each other so closely. I called her. Then I talked with them. Rose didn't look very drunk that time. I asked them where they were going. Alpha Arvin told me Rose was going with him." After hearing Taylor, both Alice and Delilah looked at Rose as if they wanted to hear her side of the story. "I was drunk so Mark told me she would drop me. I was about to go with him when Arvin came and told me that he will drop me because he is the head alpha and all. He didn't want any unmated she-wolf to get any harm so he dropped me at my home. That's it." Rose explained and sighed. "And why didn't you tell me that yesterday?" Alice raised a brow and asked Rose. "Actually I forgot about that. It is not important for me to talk about any stranger," Rose said. "Stranger?" Taylor asked. "He is our head alpha, Rose. Not any strangers. And you two didn't look like strangers that night." "Oh shut up, Taylor. If my Rossi said, he is a stranger to her, then he is. You don't have to give lectures for that. Taylor shut his mouth and nodded his head. Anyway, who could win against Alice in talk? After a few minutes, the professor came to their class and they gave their attention to the class. After their classes, they went to the cafe and sat at their usual table. It was exactly in the middle of the cafe. Rose ordered their food at the counter and went to Alice and Delilah. Then she sat on her seat. Alice and Rose, I want to ask you something. Delilah said. Alice and Rose nodded their heads. We are now friends, right? Yes, we are, Delilah. Alice replied. Then can I invite you to my home? Delilah asked them happily. Home? Rose asked. Yeah, I only live with my grandmother, I told you. Yes. Rose nodded. So there is no one in my home except me and her. I want you both to meet with her today. Today? Rose was surprised. Yes, today. Delilah nodded. I would love to go with you, dear. But I have to go home early today. I have guests in my house. I will go some other day. Alice apologized. It's okay, I understand. And you, Rose? Delilah smiled at Alice and turned to Rose with her hopeful eyes. Sure. If you want me to meet your grandmother, then why not? Alice grinned. Seeing that Rose agreed to go with her, Delilah was happy. You know what? Here I have no friends. My grandma asked me every day about my friends and all the time, I lied to her that I have a lot of friends and all. She always told me to take them home and she would cook for them. Oh! Let me tell you, my grandmother is a very good cook. Delilah was cheerful when she was talking about her grandmother, Alice, and Rose smiled at her when they saw how happily Delilah was talking about her grandmother. After finishing all the classes, Alice said goodbyes to Rose and Delilah and then drove her car home. Meanwhile, Rose and Delilah set off to go to Delilah's home. Rose saw they were going inside the forest. She frowned and asked, Delilah, where are we going? Delilah smiled at her and replied, Don't be afraid. I am not hijacking you. My home is in the middle of the forest. What? Yes. Let's go now. Delilah said. Rose nodded and started to walk ahead in the forest. After some time, they went close to a hut in the middle of the forest. That was when it hit Rose's mind and she got goosebumps. She thought, this is the place I saw in my dream. Hello, to get back your wolf, this is the place I saw in my dream. Rose was confused. She could not believe this type of place even existed. Because she just saw this place in her dreams. How could it be possible that she could dream of any unknown place? What happened, Rose? Delilah asked Rose. Nothing. This is your home? You live here? Rose asked her. Delilah thought Rose was feeling uncomfortable because Delilah took her to a poor place like a hut. Yes, I am sorry if you feel comfortable. We are not that rich actually. My grandma and I live here. I told you about my parents' death, right? So after that, we are living here. Rose understood that Delilah mistook her. No, Delilah. I didn't mean that. I am just talking about this place. You live here, in the middle of the forest? Don't you feel scared? You are a werewolf, Rose. And you are talking about fear. No, I mean. You are not a werewolf like us. And your grandma is old. So what about her? When you leave her every day, doesn't she feel unsafe here? Rose asked while looking at the hut. No, she is very strong. She is one of the strongest high-ranked witches. She is not afraid of anything. She even helped some werewolves in the last war. She has her own powers, so there is no need. But feeling lonely? Yes, she felt lonely sometimes. Let's go and meet with her. She will be happy to see you. Delilah cheered. Yeah, let's go. Rose and Delilah were moving close to the hut. Rose was feeling distressed. She had a flashback in her mind about her dream. Flashback, she suddenly felt dark everywhere. Someone was calling her while crying. Rose. Rosalie. Rose, please save me, Rose. Rosalie, where are you? Rose was running into the dark forest. She could not recognize the forest. As if she never came here. Where are you? Why can't I find you, Rosalie? You are very close, Rose. She saw her legs were bleeding. She couldn't get up from there. She saw the old hut. The door was opened and smoke and lights were coming out from there. Get up, Rose. She heard a voice. She could not identify the voice. It was a female voice she had never heard before. Who are you? Come here. Your fate, your destiny is waiting here for you. The voice was so alluring but so deep. It was fascinating. What do you mean? Come here and find everything. Rose tried to get up. She felt pain but she still got up and proceeded to the hut. She was almost there. She was almost close to the hut. When the light from the hut caught her eyes, she closed her eyes and opened her eyes again. But this time she was in her room. She felt shocked. She was sweating. Back to present, Rose thought about her dream and sighed. Everything was bewildering her. Rose, why are you standing there? Come. She heard Delilah. Rose nodded to her and went to the hut. She went inside the hut with Delilah. She saw the hut was made of bamboo inside. There was a small bed of two, a kitchen side, a door maybe for a bathroom, a small couch, a closet and a small desk with a small shelf. Rose could not believe her eyes. In this generation where they use mobile phones, laptops, and the internet, Delilah lived in a place where there were no networks. Maybe Grandma is outside. Let's sit here, Grandma will come soon. Delilah said and Rose nodded. They sat on the small couch and talked for a few minutes. Then Rose saw an old woman enter the hut. She looked very old. Her skin was fair and clean. Her white hair was shiny and her eyes were green. Rose stood up immediately and greeted her. Hello, Grandma. The old woman looked at her and frowned at her. Rose could not understand why she did not reply to her greetings. The old woman turned her face to Delilah and asked her, who is she? Rose thought that was rude. Grandma, she is my friend. You wanted to meet some of my friends, right? She is my close friend. Rose smiled awkwardly at them. The old woman cleared her frown and looked surprised. She is your friend? Yes, Grandma. The old woman came near Rose. Rose was feeling uncomfortable. The old woman said to her, I am so sorry, dear. I didn't know that you were my granddaughter's friend. It's okay, Grandma. The old woman smiled at her. Sit here. I will make some tea for you. Rose nodded to her. When the old woman went to the kitchen side, she started to make tea. Rose looked at Delilah and whispered to her. I am feeling nervous in front of Grandma. Delilah laughed at her. Don't be. She is not friendly with strangers. But you are my friend, so you don't have to worry. Rose nodded her head. After making 3 cups of tea, the old woman came to them and gave them 2 cups. She sat with Rose and Delilah. Rose was thinking before sipping the cup of tea. She did not have her wolf anymore, so she could not smell any danger, but she believed Delilah was a good girl, so she sipped the tea. "You are beautiful, my child. But why are you looking so pale?" the old woman asked Rose. Rose looked at her and could not answer her. What could she answer her? The old woman sipped her tea and asked Rose, "Where is your wolf?" Rose was shocked. She can also feel that like Delilah. Or did Delilah tell her about me? Rose thought. Rose glanced at Delilah and Delilah nodded at her as if she was telling her to answer her grandma. "Grandma, it's nothing. I think I should go back to my home. It's noon. My mom will be at home right now." Rose stood up and went to the small door of the hut when she heard the old woman. "I can help you to get back your wolf. Friday night I can help you to get back your wolf." Rose stopped there. She was stunned by her words. "Help me to get back my wolf." She turned around and looked at the old woman. "Grandma, what did you just say?" The old woman stood up and Delilah also stood up. "Rose, don't get angry with me. I convinced Grandma to help you. She is a very powerful witch, she can help you." Rose was upset with Delilah. She never thought Delilah had taken her here for this and she even told her grandma about her secret. The old woman moved toward to Rose and told her, "Child, you are very young. You had to suffer from losing your wolf. But let me tell you. She has not gone away from you. She is inside you, hidden somewhere. She had to bear the consequences of rejection." Rose's eyes widened as she asked the old woman, "How do you know about the rejection?" The old woman smiled at her and patted her head. "Dear, I know many things. I am old, not just in my age, but with my experiences also." Rose was staring at her, shocked and silent. "Don't be stressed. If you want to go home, then I will not stop you. You can go home and think about it. If you come to me for help then come tonight. We will start at midnight, which will be Friday night, and Friday night is very important for us. I will prepare everything for you." Rose gazed at the old woman, she glanced at Delilah and said, "Delilah, I am going home." Delilah called her and said, "Let me come with you, what if you lose your way?" Rose shook her head and said, "No, I memorized the way so I won't lose the path." Then Rose left the hut. She started to walk ahead, then she began to run. After some time, she came to the main road and took a cab to go home. When she came back home, she went straight to her room. She lied to the old woman that her mom was at home. Her mom told her she had a lot of work at the office. She had to work overtime tonight. So she would not come back today. Rose thought about what happened today the whole day. She didn't believe Delilah's grandma at first. Because any random woman telling her about her past and talking about her helps to get back her wolf. It was not a joke. But then she remembered her dreams. How she dreamt about the hut on the same route, the same place. How could that be possible? She even heard Rosalie's voice. Nevertheless there was another voice of a woman. But that was not Delilah's grandma's voice that Rose was sure about. Then who was she? Rose wanted to talk to Rosalie, wanted to feel her again. "What should I do, Rosalie? Will you come back to me? Is it even possible?" Then Rose talked to her mother. Her mother told her that she could not come back home tonight, which Rose already knew. She told Rose to stay safe and always locked the door. Rose told her she would do that. After all the thinking, Rose decided to go to the hut tonight. She told herself, I don't have Rosalie now. How can she hurt me? I am now a human without my wolf. How can she harm me more? If she can really help, then it will be a win for me. I can have my Rosalie back. Thank you, Moon Goddess, you are helping me. I hope you won't upset me again and give me back my wolf. When it was 8 p.m., Rose got ready. She wanted to call Delilah. But then she remembered Delilah lived in a place where she could not get any phone connection. Then why does Delilah use a phone? Oh yes. She needs to do assignments and she spent most of her time at university. Rose shook her head and went out of her home. She locked the main door carefully and took a cab to go to the forest side. The cab stopped at the side of the forest. She got out of the car and went near the forest when she saw Delilah. Rose was surprised after seeing her. Delilah! What are you doing here? Delilah came to her and smiled at her. She hugged Rose and said, Grandma told me to receive you, she told me that you will come for sure. Then Delilah moved back from the hug. Rose looked at Delilah. How did she know that? Rose, I told you she has many powers. When I felt that you did not have your wolf, I told my grandma that day about you. She said she can help you. So I convinced her. She told me to take you with me. Believe me, she can help you, my friend. A witch can do many things you have never imagined. Rose thought about what Alice told her on the phone, Rossi, a witch can do many things which we have never imagined. Ross shook her head from her thoughts and told Delilah, let's go. Rose and Delilah went to the hut. Rose felt the same feeling that she felt in her dream. Rose entered the hut and saw there was some fire on wood in both corners inside the hut. Wow, I am feeling like I have come 1,000 years back, no electricity and all. Delilah moved toward Rose and whispered to her, I lied to you. About what? That I live with my grandma. I told you so that you can come here. I live in our dormitory. But I come here every Friday to live with grandma. Why Friday? Rose frowned. Because Friday night is a very pure night. In this night all the witches become very powerful. The old woman had already told Rose about that. The old woman suddenly entered the hut. Seeing her all of a sudden, Rose was stunned. I went outside to collect some more wood. The old woman told her. Rose nodded to her and asked, what do I have to do now to get back my wolf? The old woman gave her a white long dress. It was just a simple one piece that could hide her full body. Take this and dress up. Come back here and sit down there. We will start at midnight. She said. But midnight is still a long time away. Rose said. Don't worry. We can sit here. Everything will turn on automatically when 12 o'clock strikes. We don't have to worry about that. Witchcraft. When midnight approached, Rose got nervous and saw candles lit all around. She could see everything clearly. Delilah was there sitting beside Rose. Rose grabbed her hand tightly. What is happening, Delilah? Delilah patted Rose's hand. Don't worry. It's just the beginning. From now on, listen to Grandma. We will try our best. Rose, child, come and sit here. The old woman asked Rose to sit in the center of the room. Rose moved there and sat where she was told to sit. Rose looked like a child who knew nothing about those things. She was wearing the white dress that she was told to wear. She saw the old woman take some powder and it was a white powder. The old woman spread the powder around the center where Rose was sitting and made a circle with it. Delilah, come here and sit with me. The old woman said. Delilah came and sat on the right side outside of the circle. The old woman rose from there and stood up. She went outside and took a big black steel pot filled with water. She put down the bowl in front of Rose. Rose was curious about what was in the water. Don't look at the water. Just close your eyes. From now on, don't open your eyes, child. The old woman told Rose. Rose nodded and closed her eyes. The old woman sat on her left side. Then she also closed her eyes and Delilah closed her eyes too. Both of them started to chant some spells and immediately all the candles in the room blew out. Suddenly, a fire lit in the circle where Rose was sitting inside. Rose could feel the sudden heat she was afraid of. She was a werewolf, not a witch. She didn't know anything about witchcraft. She was feeling uncomfortable with all the spells Delilah and her grandma were chanting. Delilah was casting spells and she was trying her best to back her friend's wolf. She promised Rose that she would help her and now was the time to prove herself as a good friend. The old woman was casting spells like it was so natural for her. She was old but it looked like daily work for her. Delilah and her grandma were chanting when they heard wolves howling. Rose was stunned. What is happening? She could hear crows. She could hear the sounds of air. Every sound was growing slowly. She wanted to open her eyes. Delilah's grandma frowned her brows but her eyes were closed. She warned, "Don't open your eyes, Rose." Rose nodded her head. She thought the old woman could see her. Suddenly, she could not hear anything. Everything stopped. "Open your eyes, Rose," the old woman told her. Rose slowly opened her eyes and was scared. Around her all over was only fire. She could not see anything except fire. "Where are you, Grandma?" "Delilah? I cannot see you." "Rose, just look at the water, child. But remember, don't touch the water." Rose nervously nodded her head and moved to the black water bowl. She came close to it and slowly looked into it. However, what she saw she could not believe. "Rosalie!" Rose screamed loudly. She started to cry. "Rosalie? What are you doing there, Rosalie? You don't know how much I miss you, Rosalie. Please come back to me. Without you, I am nothing, Rosalie." She could see her. The white fur with blue eyes looked at her in the same position as she was looking at it. It was looking like her own reflection in the water. Rose could not control herself and touched the water. Immediately her palm burned. Ah, my hand!" Rose screamed in pain. "I told you not to touch the water. Why didn't you listen to me, Rose?" The old woman scolded her. "Rose, are you okay?" Delilah asked worriedly. "Delilah, tell Grandma that I am sorry to doubt her from the first." "You are right. My wolf is not dead." Rose touched her right hand and whimpered. "Now don't talk and go to sit where you were sitting a moment ago," the old woman told her. Rose immediately moved back and sat where she was sitting a few minutes ago. "Close your eyes again." Rose closed her eyes. This time the old woman took a knife and cut her palm and went to the fire. She spelled it a lot of times but the fire did not stop flaming. "Delilah, start casting your spells. I cannot stop the fire alone. We don't have the power of fire." Delilah and her grandma started to chant again. After 10 minutes, the fire stopped and all the candles lit up again. Delilah's grandma took her palm, which was bleeding, and went to the bowl. She poured a few drops of her blood into the water of the bowl. Then she told Delilah to do the same. Rose's eyes were still closed. She didn't know what was happening. Delilah cut her palm and murmured, "It's painful, Grandma." It's okay, Delilah, we are witches. Just think that you are experiencing one of the toughest witchcrafts tonight. Delilah nodded to her. Delilah also poured her blood into the water of the bowl. It looked like black water, as if someone mixed black color in the water. They sat beside the pot and started to chant again. Rose felt that the storm was raging around her, everything was turning upside down in the air. Even the heat of the fire started again. Come here, Rose. The old woman said. Rose opened her eyes and saw that this time two of them were sitting in front of her, beside the big black bowl. How did you two come inside? Rose saw fire around her, she could not believe that they came there inside, crossing the fire. It is not time to talk about these. Come here and take the knife, Rose. The old woman said. Rose could see the old woman's green eyes in the light of the fire. She looked at Delilah and hers were the same. Rose took the knife and asked, "Now what do I have to do with this knife?" Rose was holding up the knife. It was full of blood. The old woman then replied, "Cut your palm deep and pour a few drops of your blood on the water." Heal so fast. Rose was shocked when she heard what Delilah's grandma said. "Cut my palm?" she asked confusingly. "Yes, Rose. Please do it fast. We don't have much time," Delilah told her. Rose slowly lifted the knife up and looked at it. The knife was smeared with blood. Her hand was shaking when she took the knife close to her left hand. "No. Not your left hand. You have to cut your right palm," the old woman said. Rose took the knife in her left hand and put it close to her right palm. She slowly cut her palm. She was shaking and the knife didn't cut deep. "Cut deep. You have to pour a lot of drops," the old woman instructed her. Rose closed her eyes and thought, "For Rosalie, I can do anything." Then she took a deep breath and cut her palm deep. She felt pain in her palm, but she fisted it and poured a few drops of her blood. "Now dip your hand in the pot and close your eyes. Don't open your eyes or pull out your hand before I tell you to do that." Rose dipped her right hand in the water of the big black pot and closed her eyes. Delilah and her grandma started to chant their spells again. This time Rose could feel the storm and it was destroying everything. She could feel the storm inside her. She was feeling numb. She felt a quick pain in her palm. And it started to increase more and more. "Ah! My hand! Grandma!" she screamed. "Don't pull out your hand or open your eyes, no matter what," Delilah and her grandma said together, as if it was also another spell. Rose could feel the pain coming inside her through her hand. She felt pain in her heart. She was suffering the pain again that she felt the night of her birthday. The pain of rejection. Rose felt like everything was pushing her to pull out the hand and open her eyes. The whole hut was upside down. She could feel that even if her eyes were closed. But Rose tried her best. Tears rolled from her closing eyes nonchalantly. She put her left hand on her heart and clutched her white dress. She was feeling unbearable pain. This much pain she could not realize even existed. Yet she didn't open her eyes. Her hand was trembling in the water. It was hot when she touched it the first time, but this time it was cold. The temperature of the room was high, but the water was cold enough to numb her hand. Meanwhile, Delilah was struggling to spell and sat down straight. She almost fainted. Her nose was bleeding. But she didn't stop. After some time, Rose felt everything had stopped. She could not feel anything around her anymore. Everything was silent. She wanted to see what happened. However, she felt a pang in her chest. She felt severe pain. She started to have breathing problems. She could not breathe. She fainted while her hand was still in the water. The hut became dark when everything stopped. But after Rose fainted, all the candles lit up again. The old woman looked tired. She glanced at the black water pot. The water was not black anymore. It became clear water. She sighed in relief. Delilah took her to the bed and let her rest. She felt a lot of pain tonight. Delilah managed to take Rose to their small double bed. She laid her down and put the quilt over her. When Delilah turned, her grandma gasped. "My dear, your nose. Come here. I am giving you a potion. Drink it and take some rest. You did hard work tonight. I am proud of you." Delilah chugged down the potion. She took that after every new experiment. It was like medicine for witches. In the morning, Rose woke up with a sore throat and pain all over her body. She sat up and looked around. No one was there in the hut. She was about to stand up when Delilah entered the hut. "Rose, finally you wake up." "Delilah, how long have I been sleeping?" "What do you mean?" Delilah frowned at her. "I woke up after 3 days when my mate rejected me. I felt the same when you and Grandma did that witchcraft, even though I felt more pain." "Tell me how many days later I woke up?" "What about my mom? Did you contact her?" "There is no connection, right? She must be searching me." Rose panicked when she thought about her mom. "Don't panic, Rose. You did not sleep for a long time. We did all those crafts last night. You just woke up late in the morning. That is it," Delilah said. "Really?" Rose asked with her sore throat. "Yes. And you are totally okay now?" Delilah's grandma entered and replied to her. "What do you mean, Grandma?" Rose asked with confusion. "Grandma means we succeeded last night," Delilah said. You mean Rosalie is back to me?" "Are you telling me the truth, Delilah?" Rose was crying happily. Delilah smiled at Rose and hugged her. "Don't cry, my friend. I am not lying to you. Your wolf is back." Rose closed her eyes and more tears rolled down from her eyes. "I can't believe I can have her back. I had lost my every hope." Rose sobbed. Rose looked at Delilah's grandma. She went to her and hugged her like a child. "Thank you, Grandma. I don't have my grandma, but you really filled her place." She patted her hair and said, "No worries, child. From today, I am your grandma too. You can come to me for any help. I will always be there for you." Rose nodded at Grandma. "Now go and get fresh. I will make a cup of tea for you," Grandma said. Rose freshened up and wore what she wore last night before changing into a white dress. She glanced at the white dress. It had blood stains. She went back to Delilah and her grandma. They sat on the couch. "Grandma, when will she be back?" Rose was talking about her wolf. "Don't worry, she will talk with you soon. Give her some time," Grandma assured her and Rose nodded. "Here. Drink this ginger honey tea. It is good for the throat." Rose was about to take the cup from Grandma. However, Grandma didn't give her the cup, but she took her right palm and asked her, "How can your palm be so clear? How did your deep wound heal so fast? A wolf is following her. How can your palm be so clear? How did your deep wound heal so fast?" Rose looked at her palm, it was healed indeed. "I don't know, Grandma," she replied. Grandma stared at her palm for a few seconds, then she released her hand. She took the cup of tea and gave it to Rose. Rose took the cup and asked, "Grandma, is there any problem with my palm?" Grandma shook her head and smiled, "No dear. It's not a problem. It's a good thing that you healed fast. Now drink your tea, otherwise it will get cold." Rose nodded and drank the tea. Rose talked with Delilah for some time. She didn't want to go to their university today. "Tomorrow is the weekend. I don't want to go to our university today," Rose said to Delilah. "You are right. I don't want either. It's late already and I am tired too. Let's go there after the weekend," Delilah said. Alice nodded at her and sent a message to Alice that she would not come to university today. Grandma told Rose to have lunch with them. Rose said okay. After having lunch, Rose left the hut. Delilah went with her to the main road. Rose looked at Delilah. "Thanks, Delilah. I doubted you. But what you did for me is unplayable. I can't pay your debts in my whole life." Delilah hugged her. "Don't worry. Just be my friend. You are my first friend whom I trust so much and tried to help. I was lonely because I am a witch, but you accepted my friendship. Thank you. And I am happy to help you," Delilah said. Rose smiled at her and told her that they would meet the day after tomorrow. When Rose reached her home, she saw her mother had come already. "Mom, today you came from your university early. You always come home at least 1 hour later." "Come on, I was not at university." Selena frowned at her. "What do you mean, Rose? Where were you?" "I was at my friend's house last night." "Alice." "No, Mom." "Then what friend?" "Mark." Selena asked. "No, Mom." "What are you saying?" "I was at Delilah's home. She is one of my good friends. It was a girls' night." "Then why didn't you tell me?" "Mom, I thought you would worry about me. I don't want to disturb you." "Okay. But next time tell me before going anywhere." "Okay, Mom." "Did you have your lunch?" "Yes, Mom. Delilah's grandmother is a great cook. She didn't let me leave without having lunch." Selena smiled at her daughter. Rose was looking happy today. She liked her daughter's happy face. Rose went to her room and spent all day thinking about last night. She was waiting for her wolf to talk with her. That night when Rose fell asleep, she had another dream. It was the same dream she had seen before. This time she entered the hut. She went to a circle and sat there without anyone's direction. Though in her dream her eyes were closed, Rose could see everything that happened around her. The fire around her. Suddenly, a woman wearing a long black cloth appeared in front of her. Rose could see herself in her dream. The woman told her something. "Child, you wanted your wolf back when you knew it was against your law. You wanted to break your law and yearned back your wolf." Rose didn't open her eyes and said, "I didn't break any law, it was the Alpha who broke it. I told him to consider our bond but he rejected me knowing everything." "I know everything, dear. You and your wolf had to bear so much pain and consequences on behalf of others' mistakes. So, this time, the moon goddess gives you power for your patience." "Power? And who are you?" "I am Caroline Olsen. The highest ranked witch who has the power of versatility." "Can I open my eyes?" "No, you can't see me. However, you have 2 of my powers. You will get to know about it. But try to use it properly." "What are you saying?" "Just remember one thing, use your heart, not your brain. Your fate will reverse everything for you. It will reverse your pain and suffering for the one who gave all of this to you." But you have to be strong until your heart conveys something. Rose was confused in her dream. She wanted herself to open her eyes and look at the woman. But when she opened her eyes she was in her bed. Rose immediately sat up on the bed. What is happening to me? What was that woman saying? Powers? What powers were she talking about? She could not understand anything. She was sweating. I am in a mess. What should I do? Rose put both of her palms on her face. She was confused about everything. But suddenly she heard a voice which made her shocked. Rosalie. Where were you, Rosalie? I thought I had lost you. I was inside you, Rose. Rosalie replied. I am so happy, Rosalie. I can't believe you are back to me. I thought you were gone. I lost every hope to live. Rose. Yes, Rosalie. Let's go for a run. Rosalie requested. Rose understood that her wolf needed to be free. So she agreed with her wolf. Rose silently went out of her home. She didn't disturb her mom. She went to the forest and let her wolf take over her. Rose shifted into her wolf form. With the white fur and blue eyes, anybody could say how beautiful the wolf was. But she never shifted in front of anyone except her mom. Her mom didn't let her shift in front of anyone because she was an unmated Omega. It would be dangerous for her. The white wolf started to run into the dark forest. The wolf felt alive again. She was caged inside for days. Rose was feeling refreshed when the air touched her wolf's fur. Suddenly, a loud growling was heard. The white wolf got scared and began to run fast. She started going back to where she was coming from. But crunching hit her ears. She understood maybe a wolf was following her. She ran fast and came close to the house, then shifted back to where she put her clothes before shifting. Rose wore her clothes while huffing. She immediately went inside her home and closed the door. She sighed and ran to her room. She thought it was a rogue who followed her. So she felt relaxed that she didn't get caught by any rogue. During the weekend, Rose was at her home and didn't go anywhere. She was tired for some reason. She guessed that it was because of witchcraft. She talked with Delilah and thanked her again. She talked with Alice and told her about everything. Alice was very happy for her. The next morning, Rose woke up early. She got ready to go to university. She went downstairs and saw her mom had already made breakfast for her. Mom! She went to her and kissed her cheek. Every day you go to university without having your breakfast. So today I woke up early for you. How did you wake up early today? Did the sun rise from the west today? Selena asked. Rose laughed at her mom's words. Mom! Don't tease me. I am happy today. I am glad that you are happy. Selena smiled. Rose grinned at her and sat on a chair, then had her breakfast. Rose said goodbye to her mom and went to take a bus at the bus stand. She took a bus and sat on a seat. She was delighted today because from today her life would be the same as before. No more worries, no more tensions, only a relaxing life. Rose arrived at university and entered her university. She searched for Alice and Delilah. Then she messaged them that she had arrived. Alice told her that she was there, so she was coming to her. And Delilah said she was coming to university soon. Alice went to Rose and hugged her. I missed you. I almost didn't see you for half a week. I was so tired that I could not meet you outside. Rose replied. It's okay. But I am happy for you, Rossi. Alice said. It's all because of Delilah and her grandma. They are good people. Yes, you are right. Alice said and nodded. Yes. You go to the class and I am coming. Where are you going, Rossi? I forgot to take out my books from my locker. Rose replied. Oh okay. Come soon. Alice said. Rose nodded at her and then left from there. She went to her locker and opened it. She took out her schedule and took out her book as the schedule. She saw the entrance and the hallway were empty. Every student went to their class. It was class time. Rose fixed all the books and locked her locker. She started to walk to her class. But suddenly a hand pulled her and she bumped into a hard chest. She heard a deep voice whisper in her left ear. Mate. Her scent has changed. Arvin came to the university early today. He was not looking okay. He didn't sleep properly last night. He went for a run last night. But he smelled something strange. He followed the smell and saw a beautiful white wolf. He could not control Arvin, so he followed the white wolf from afar and growled. But the wolf got scared and started to run away. Arvin followed her but lost the way to find her. She was fast. How could a wolf be that much faster than him? Arvin thought about last night and shook his head. He came out of his car after parking it. He called Liam, who was angry with him. Arvin sighed. He didn't want to fight with his best friend, but the situation every time turned into that and they ended up fighting. Liam received the call. Hello. Where are you? Arvin asked. I am on the way to university. Liam replied. Okay, come fast. I am at the university. Okay, I am coming. Liam said while driving. Arvin cut the call and entered the university. He went to the cafe and sat there. He checked his phone and started working. He was the head alpha. He had so much work to do. People thought that he was a young man and a university student, so he was living a great chilling life. But that was not true because he had to do so much work daily. At this age, he had to work and study together. But again, he was the true blood alpha. He had the power of strength more than any other werewolf. So he could manage everything together. He worked for some time. He saw Liam entering the cafe with Rita. They came to him. They sat at the table. You came early today? Liam said. Yeah. Arvin replied. Rita didn't look at Arvin, and tried to ignore him. Arvin noticed it. I apologize for Lena's behavior. Arvin told her. Rita was shocked. She could not believe her ears. Alpha Arvin was apologizing to her. Nice. No, it's okay, Arvin. You don't have to apologize for others. Arvin shook his head. No, I told her to behave. She said she will. So I hope everything will not be uncomfortable like before. Rita didn't say anything, just listened to him. When it was time for the first class, they stood up and walked out of the cafe. But Arvin stopped his steps. He felt the same smell that he felt last night. He almost stopped breathing. He frowned and looked around him. Liam and Rita looked at each other when they saw Arvin stop walking. What happened? Liam asked. Arvin shook his head and said, nothing. You two go to the class. I will join you soon. Then he left from there. Liam and Rita were confused. Then they headed to their class to attend. Arvin was searching the whole university for the owner of the scent. It was an alluring and addictive scent that started to affect him. Arvin followed the smell and went to the locker room. He saw someone leaving. He frowned. Arvin was growling inside and started to chant, Mate! 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 Arvin went to the girl and pulled her to him. He confusingly whispered into her ear, "Mate." The owner of the scent turned around and looked at him. Then he saw her face. His eyes widened. Rose looked at the person who pulled her. It was Alpha Arvin. What mate? Does he still think I am his mate after the horrible rejection? No, I cannot let this man come close to me again. I have to avoid him and I will. Rose thought. Rose looked down at Arvin's hand. He didn't leave her hand after pulling her. Rose snatched her hand back and said, "Excuse me." Then she didn't wait for Arvin's reply and walked out from there. She went to her class. She was late because of Arvin. She entered the classroom and said sorry to the professor. Likewise, she went to her seat, which was beside Alice. "Why did you come late?" Alice whispered. "Because the Alpha Arvin bumped into me today." Rose replied and fakely smiled at Alice. Meanwhile, Arvin was shocked when he looked at Rose. He could not reply to her when she turned around and left. He was very confused. "I rejected her, how can she still be my mate? I don't understand what is going on. Why does she smell different? Was it her? Was she the one I saw last night?" All the questions came to his mind and he got furious. He went to his class and opened the class's door. Everyone was stunned and the professor got angry. But when he saw it was the head Alpha, he shut his mouth. Everyone was scared when they saw Arvin was not in a good mood. Rita and Liam looked at each other confusingly. Arvin went to his seat and sat down there. The professor started his lecture again. Arvin didn't give any attention to the class, all he thought about was Rose. After classes, Rose, Alice, and Delilah went to the cafe. They sat and talked about how Rose got back her wolf and how Rosalie was now okay. They were pleased now. Alice thanked Delilah for her help. "Thank you, Delilah, you helped Rose. Otherwise, we don't know what will happen to her." "No, it's okay, you two are now my friends. I can help my friends. There is nothing to be thankful about." They chatted for some time and left for their home. Delilah went to the dorm. She lived there in the dormitory and went to her grandma on the weekend. Arvin went back to the pack house after all the classes. He was distracted all the day. At night, he called Liam into his office room. Liam came to his office. He told Liam everything. "What are you saying?" Liam was shocked as well. "I am telling you the truth. I am confused too. But you said you didn't feel her smell at all after rejection, but suddenly how can you smell her scent again?" Liam asked. "No. Her scent, that is the main trouble. It is not the same scent as before my rejection. Before, her scent was different. How different she smelled before, but now it is totally unique. I cannot explain it to you. It is addictive. I could not control myself and pulled her today. If I knew it was her, I wouldn't do that." Liam sighed. "Stop controlling yourself, Arvin. Let everything happen what destiny decides for you. You broke the rule and didn't listen to me. No, I don't know what to do. Just go and find out what is happening. I don't care how you will do that. I rejected her, but still, my wolf called her my mate." "Why?" Arvin said angrily. "Okay. I will try to find out. Don't worry." Liam replied. The next morning, Arvin went to the university early again. This time he willingly went there early. Lena came to the university today. She came and sat beside Arvin. "Arvin, I was sick yesterday. That is why I could not come to our university. But why didn't you call me for once?" Lena asked with an upset look. I was busy yesterday. Arvin said without looking at her. Are you still angry with me? Lena asked and went close to him. Arvin looked at her and replied, don't forget to apologize to Liam and Rita. I don't want again. Lena nodded at him. Yes, yes. I will. Then she hugged Arvin. Arvin hugged her back. This woman was an alpha female. She had a mate but she refused her mate for him. Everyone thought that he had no mate, so she broke the mate bond with that man and stayed with him. That was why Lena had a place in his heart. He could not hurt her. Arvin glanced at Lena but when he looked up, he saw Rose. She saw them but didn't react and left the cafe. Arvin pushed Lena and stood up immediately. What happened, Arvin? Lena asked. I have something to do. I am leaving. Then he left the cafe and followed Rose. Rose came to grab breakfast because her mom went to her work early today. When Rose was about to go for an order in the cafe, she saw Arvin and Lena sitting and hugging each other. She didn't want it to affect herself, so she didn't order and left the cafe. Someone grabbed her hand and started to pull the opposite side of her way. She looked at the person and saw it was Arvin. What are you doing? She shouted at him. Arvin didn't reply. Leave my hand. Rose said coldly. Arvin took her to a quiet place. It was the place behind their university. Arvin left her hand and looked at her. What? Rose asked. I will ask you some questions, I want clear answers. Arvin said coldly. What question? How did your scent suddenly change? Did something happen to your wolf? That is why the smell has changed. Arvin asked. That is none of your business. Rose replied. Don't forget that I am the head alpha. Rose didn't let him complete his sentence and said, yes, you are the head alpha but I am not bound to answer you about my personal life. Because now, you are nobody to me, Arvin Black. Now it's your time. Yes, you are the head alpha but I am not bound to answer you about my personal life. Because now, you are nobody to me, Arvin Black. Arvin was stunned by Rose's sudden courage. He got furious with her attitude. He glared at her. He observed her. She was looking beautiful today as if her beauty was blooming. Arvin scolded himself inside. He could not think like that. She was his rejected mate. Rose saw Arvin was glaring at her and did not say anything. So she slightly pushed him and walked out of the place. Arvin was looking at her back. This is the second time you dared to turn your back to me, Rose Lee. Arvin said with his gritted teeth. It was your fault, Arvin. RV said. Arvin frowned. His wolf never supported him when he rejected Rose. His wolf wanted his fated mate only. No, it's not. What I did was needed. She doesn't deserve us. Can't you just see how she behaves towards me? Such a mannerless woman. Then how would she behave when you rejected her knowingly? You knew she had to bear the consequences but you didn't show any mercy to our mate. RV scolded him. She is not our mate anymore. Arvin reminded him. No, she is our mate. I can feel our bond. It is affecting you too. Can't you see? I have to know about all the things that are happening. Arvin said and left the university. He didn't inform anyone where he was going. He drove the car and stopped in front of an old house. He parked his car on the side of the road. He got out of his car and went to the house. He knocked on the door. The door was opened by an old man. His hair was white but his skin was rough. He looked old but didn't look powerless. Alpha. The old man was shocked when he saw who had come to his house. Elias. Please, Alpha, come inside. Elias said. Arvin entered his house. It was not a big but a cozy house. Arvin went to the couch and sat there. Elias went to the kitchen and made a cup of coffee for him. He came out of the kitchen and gave Arvin a cup of coffee. Arvin looked at the cup and said, "I'll only drink double espresso." Elias said, "My apology, Alpha. I will come with an espresso." Arvin stopped him. "No need for that. Just sit here. I came here to talk with you." Elias nodded and sat on the opposite couch where Arvin was sitting. Arvin looked at Elias. He was the pack's ancient advisor. He had the power to solve the hidden problems. He told Arvin's father that Arvin would be one of the powerful Alpha in the future. Indeed, he became the powerful Alpha. "Tell me, how can I help you?" Elias said. "I rejected my mate." Arvin said with a blank face. Elias immediately stood up. "What?" Arvin glared at him. He instantly sat down again. No matter how old he was, in front of a true-blood Alpha, he was nothing. "Please continue," he said. Arvin continued, "I rejected her because she doesn't fit for me or my wolf. She is a weak Omega. How can she rule my pack with me? How can I give the power to an Omega? She cannot even fight with any Beta or Alpha females. Then why would I accept her?" Elias was listening to him carefully. "I thought after rejection everything would be over between us. And I felt that way too. I could not even smell her as her head Alpha, I don't know why. But after some time, I again started to smell her scent. This time her smell is very different from before. It is not the same anymore." Arvin explained. He told Elias about his confusion. "I thought she is not my mate anymore. But yesterday my wolf called her my mate. He is continuously telling me that she is still my mate. What is happening? But one more thing, she didn't look the same. Her beauty is changing too. She didn't react to me as my mate. It looks like only my wolf is after her wolf." Elias thought for some time and said, "How can I help you with this matter, Alpha?" "I don't know, but just tell me what is happening to me. And why is she changing? Why am I still feeling the bond?" Arvin asked. "How can I tell you why she is changing? But I can tell you about your problem," Elias said. Arvin nodded at him. "Alpha, you told me at first that you rejected your mate. But who told you that your rejection was successful?" Elias asked. Arvin frowned at him. "What do you mean?" Elias smiled at him. "Your rejection was not valid from the very first. The law is that if any Alpha rejects his mate will have to bear the consequences. Do you know what consequences the mate has to bear?" Arvin was silent. Elias continued. "She has to lose her wolf. Her wolf stopped every bond with her and hid inside her forever. Day by day the wolf will be weak and one day the wolf will go away from her." Arvin was startled. He remembered how Rose was unconscious for 3 days in his pack house. But she didn't lose her wolf. "Otherwise, how can I smell her?" Arvin said. Elias nodded at him. "Maybe she is strong enough to bear the consequences and fight back. But it is not possible that she didn't feel anything. She has to survive unbearable pain for you." Arvin was quietly listening to him. "You rejected your mate and she bore the consequences. But fortunately, she fought back and her wolf is okay. So now it's your time." "What do you mean?" "Now it's your time to bear the consequences." Arvin raised one eyebrow. What consequences? She will not feel the mate bond from now because of your rejection. But she didn't reject you, so you will still feel the bond. However, this time the bond will be stronger for you to resist. Elias explained. What if she rejects me? Arvin asked. Elias shook his head. Alpha, you are very strong and powerful. Your wolf is a part and parcel of your life. We werewolves are nothing without our wolves. Living without our wolf is like living dead. Arvin sighed. What are you trying to say? If she rejects you, you will lose your wolf forever. You have no other option than to accept her. Arvin stared at him. Are you serious? Yes, Alpha. It is your fate. It is her fate to be your Luna. Nobody can change it. You have to accept her until it's too late. Arvin didn't say anything for a long time. He left Elias's house. He got into his car and started his car. He was driving while thinking about what Elias had told him. I can't believe my life would be in a mess like this. I have to do something. Arvin drove the car and it stopped in front of Rose's house. He looked at the house for some time. It was late at night. What if her mother doesn't like it? I am the alpha of this pack, I can do anything. He said to himself. Then he got out of his car and went to Rose's house. He knocked on the door. Selena Lee opened the door. Mrs. Lee. Arvin greeted her. Selena's eyes widened. Alpha. Please come inside. Arvin nodded and entered the house. He unknowingly wanted to smell Rose. But he could not smell her scent. Selena told him to sit and she made a double espresso for him. Arvin smiled at her. You know me really well. Selena told him last time that her mother told her about his coffee. Arvin took a sip and asked her. Is everything okay? Selena nodded. Yes, everything is okay now. Arvin frowned. Now? Yet. After Rose's birthday incident, she was silent. Day by day she was lost. She still didn't tell me what happened to her that night. I was worried about her. Don't worry, everything will be fine. Arvin consoled her. Everything is going normal now. She looks happy nowadays. Maybe it's because of Mark. Selena said and smiled. Mark. Arvin frowned. Selena nodded her head. Mark is Alice's cousin. He is Rose's friend too. When Rose was abroad, they became friends. I think Mark likes Rose. Arvin was sipping his espresso but paused when he heard that. Like. Yeah, Mark likes Rose. I know that. Alice told me once when Rose was abroad. Alice said to me that Mark would express his feelings, but at that time, Rose's father was alive. So I didn't tell Rose anything about Mark but told her not to accept anyone's proposal. Her father would not like it. But now her father is not with us. There is no man who can protect her. She needs a loyal man who will love her and protect her. So, as a mother, I want her to settle in her life with someone. Selena said and sighed. Arvin was looking at his espresso. What about her mate? Alpha, I think her mate rejected her, that was why her condition was like that before. I know my daughter. She didn't tell me anything because she didn't want me to worry about her. Arvin nodded at her and continued to drink espresso. Where is your daughter? He asked. She is out with her friends. But she will be back soon. Let me prepare dinner. Please have dinner with us today. Selena tried to convince him. Arvin agreed with her, then she went to the kitchen. Suddenly, he heard sounds from outside. When the bell rang in the house. Selina was about to open the door when Arvin stopped her. I will open the door, you can go to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Selina nodded and went back to the kitchen. Arvin opened the door and saw Rose and the man named Mark laughing and talking with each other. He recognized the boy who had taken Rose into the club at Taylor's birthday party. Rose told Mark, "Don't worry Mark. I will be your date at the party. Can only be happy with mate, don't worry Mark. I will be your date at the party." Rose looked and smiled at Mark. She turned to her house's main door but her smile froze. She frowned. What is he doing in my house? Maybe he came here to talk with Mom about pack-related matters. Rose ignored Arvin and went inside her house. She didn't even greet him. Arvin got angry. Just then he looked at Mark. He glared at him. Mark was feeling nervous in front of the head alpha. He didn't understand why the head alpha always came between him and Rose. Rose looked behind and saw Arvin didn't let Mark enter her house. "Mark, please come. What are you doing outside?" Rose said. Mark lowered his head and entered the house. Arvin looked mad. Selina saw Mark had come. "Hello, Mrs. Lee." Mark greeted. "Hello, Mark. How are you?" "I am fine. How is your health?" "Yeah, totally okay. Now come and have dinner with us." "Did you eat from outside?" "We ate 2 hours ago." "So yeah, hungry mom. Let's go." Rose said and went with Mark to the table and sat beside each other. Selina went to Arvin and told him to come and sit on the head chair. "But Mom, that is Dad's chair." Rose showed objection. "It's okay, my child. If your father was here, he would have done the same. The Alpha's respect is the main priority for us. He is the head of all our families in our pack." Rose nodded. She didn't want to argue about anything. Arvin went to the table and sat on the head chair. He sat in the head chair in his pack house too, though his father was still alive. It was a rule of manners that showed the head alpha's respect. A head alpha not only supported his pack, but every family of the pack depended on him. Selina moved dishes and served to Arvin. Then she sat on a chair with them. Everyone was silently eating. Mark passed the dish of white pasta to Rose. "You like creamy pasta, right?" Rose smiled at him. "You still remember that?" "Of course, I remember. How can I forget that incident?" Mark laughed. "What incident?" Selina asked. "Mrs. Lee, your daughter is very childish. Once we went to have dinner when we were abroad. She was late, so I called her and asked what I should order for her. She told me to order a white creamy pasta. I ordered pasta. When she arrived, she waited for the food to be served. When the waiter came with our food, she looked at the pasta and frowned. The waiter forgot about the pasta flavor and came with naga pasta. She scolded the waiter and explained to the young man for 5 minutes about the difference between naga pasta and white pasta. Rose put her palm on her face. "I was so silly." Mark patted her head. "It's okay, silly girl." Selina laughed at them. She was happy that Mark was a caring guy and cared for her daughter. Arvin was watching everything. Nobody could tell what he was thinking or feeling. He glared at Mark and asked, "How many days have you here, Mark Harrison?" Mark stopped eating and looked at Arvin. "I am here for some more days, Alpha. But I am planning for something, and if I succeed, I will live here forever," Mark said while looking at Rose. Rose was eating and listening to them. "Hope you will succeed, Mark," Selina said. "Thanks, Mrs. Lee," Mark said. Arvin frowned at him. Why is he always with my mate? He was with her at the club and now he has come with her to her house. Arvin paused. Did he just call Rose his mate? Arvin shook his head and continued to eat. After dinner, Mark said goodbye to Selena. Come again. You helped Rose with her studies and took care of her a lot. Thanks for taking care of her. Mark smiled. She is my very close friend. I must take care of her. Selena nodded. Mark turned to Arvin. I am leaving, Alpha. It was nice to meet you again. Arvin looked at him and nodded. Mark left the house and Rose went to see him off to the entrance. Arvin and Selena looked at them. They looked like they were talking about something. They talk so much. They just come from outside together. Now they have another thing to talk about. Arvin thought. Mark is a good boy, right? Selena asked Arvin. Arvin turned his head to Selena. Why? I think Mark is a nice guy. He never thinks about Rose's rank. They have been friends for a long time. I think he knows her better. Otherwise, why is Rose so happy after he comes back? I just hope Rose will accept him soon. Selena said. Arvin turned his head to Rose and Mark again. He was glaring at them from inside the house. He could see how Mark looked at her. Mrs. Lee, don't you think a mate bond is stronger than another bond like friendship? Arvin asked. Selena also looked back at them. Yes, you are right. But his mate rejected her. So what if you are wrong? What if their mate bond is still there? Then what? Selena slowly turned her head to Arvin. What do you mean, Alpha? I think she is mature enough to take her decisions, so don't try to force her to make anything. Before Selena could reply, she saw Mark driving away and Rose coming back. So she stopped talking. She didn't want her daughter to listen to all of this and get hurt about anything. Rose came back and saw Arvin there standing beside her mom. Rose said, Mom, I am very tired. I am going to my room. Good night. She didn't say anything to Arvin and went to her room without looking at him. When she entered her room she was confused. Why is this man following me? He was asking me about my private matters. And now he has come to my home? But why? Just when I thought everything was okay, now he started to create problems. Why? Rose punched one of her pillows as if it was Arvin and said, Arvin Black, stay away from me and my mom. Then Rose went to the bathroom to get fresh. She changed her clothes into a night dress. She knocked over on the bed and fell asleep. Meanwhile, Arvin looked upstairs at the door of Rose's room. He heard, I apologize on behalf of her again, Alpha. She is a child. Please forgive her. She didn't try to disrespect you, she is just naive. Selena apologized to him. Arvin nodded at her. It's okay. But let me tell you one thing, Mrs. Lee. Selena nodded to him. Yes, Alpha. She can only be happy with her mate. Power of healing, she can only be happy with her mate. Selena was confused when she heard Arvin's words. But then she thought Arvin believed in fated mates because he was an alpha, so she didn't reply but just nodded her head. Arvin left Rose's house. He got in his car and started to drive. He went there today because he thought he could talk with Rose about all the things he heard from the ancient advisor. But Rose turned her back to him again. She didn't let him talk and went to her room. That Mark guy was always with Rose. That made Arvin angry. He went back to the pack house. He called Liam to his office and told him about what Elias, the ancient advisor, told him. You mean you can't reject her anymore? She is your permanent mate? Liam asked with a smile. Arvin glared at him. Why are you so happy, dude? Can't you see I am in a mess right now? I don't like that woman. I don't have any idea what happened to her and what the consequences I have now to bear. No, it's your punishment. And you like her now but can't understand it. Now you are talking like Elias. Are you sure you are my best friend? Because looking at your behavior, I don't think so. I am telling you, Arvin. Just give your heart a chance. She is a good girl. She is not an 18 years old teenager. Why are you continuously calling her a girl? She passed her 20 years. Arvin said. Oh please, she is younger than you. Did you just call me old? Of course. Just imagine what she is thinking. She thinks it was good that her old mate rejected her, otherwise she had to mate with an old man. Don't forget you are the same age as me. Yeah, then I am old too. Liam said and laughed. Don't be so happy. I don't like her. I will try to ignore her. Hope it will work. It won't work, Arvin. You have tried this before. Now I have to do something else. What if she rejects you? Liam asked. I don't know anything, Liam. Why is this happening to me? Arvin said anxiously. Don't worry, everything will be fine, Arvin. I won't let her reject me, but at the same time, I don't want to get close to her. I don't like her. For this mate bond, I don't want to forcefully like anyone. Arvin said to Liam. Liam shook his head. His friend was something else. Liam didn't understand how Arvin managed everything in the pack, but he could not even manage his personal life now. The next morning, Rose went to the university. Alice, Delilah, and she went to the cafe after classes. She told them that Arvin had come to her home last night. Delilah understood the first day that maybe Arvin was Rose's mate. Now they were friends, so no secret. Why did that bastard go to your home? I will punch him. Alice said. It's okay, maybe he came to talk with my mom. I didn't give him any attention. I went directly to my room when Mark left. Rose said. Who is Mark, Rose? Delilah asked. Mark is Alice's cousin. He is one of my good friends. Rose replied. Rose looked at Alice, who was munching nachos, and asked, by the way, Alice. Mark told me about his cousin's birthday. He invited me and I agreed to go with him. Are you going there? No, Rossi. Alice replied. But why? I thought it was your cousin too. So I agreed to go there with him. Rose said. Actually, the cousin he was talking about is his paternal cousin. I am his maternal cousin. So I don't talk with his other cousins. Alice explained. Rose was upset. But I agreed with him. What would I do without you there? I don't know any of them. I will feel bored and lonely. Don't worry, he will always be with you. Otherwise, I will give him a good beat. Alice said. Hearing her words, Delilah laughed. You are so funny, Alice. No, I am not funny, Delilah, I am serious. Alice said while making her face serious. Rose laughed at her face. Then the three of them laughed together. It was a good moment for them. Suddenly, Rose felt strange. She was happy, but she was feeling somehow an unknown emotion. She ignored her feelings and kept talking with her two best friends. At noon, Rose left university and was going to her home. She waited for a bus at the bus stand, but there were no buses there. So she started to walk to the second bus stand. When she came close to the bus stand, she saw a bus was leaving from there after taking passengers. Rose started to run to catch the bus, but she bumped into a passerby. She fell down and whizzed. The passerby didn't help her but went ahead. Rose was sitting on the ground. She tried to stand up, but she hissed when she felt pain in her knee. She looked at her knees and saw her left knee was scratched. She looked at her right palm and saw it was also scratched and it was bleeding. She touched her right palm with her left because she was feeling pain. But when she caressed her right palm, she saw her palm was healed in the blink of an eye. Rose was shocked. She could not believe her eyes. How is that possible? How can I heal by just pressing my palm on it? She stood up and looked around her. There was no one beside her. She felt relaxed that no one had watched it. Otherwise, it would not be good. She went to her home by cab. She didn't want to waste her mother's money just to use it on a cab when she could go anywhere by bus at a low price. But today her legs were in pain. So it's okay for her today. Alice went to her home and she saw there was no one. Her mom did not come back from her office. Rose went to her room and lied down on the bed without changing her clothes. After some time, she sat and asked Rosalie, "Rosalie, how can I heal so fast? I can run fast too." "You are powerful, Rose." "No, I am not." "How can you say that when there are people who get rejected because they are not a high-ranking wolf?" Rose said to her wolf. "Rose, do you forget about the woman in your dream?" Rosalie asked. "No." "What did she say to you?" "About our rejection and some power I got." Rose stopped when she realized what Rosalie was trying to remind her. "You mean power?" "Yes. You are powerful now, Rose." Rose could not believe that she had got some serious power. However, Grandma and Delilah said they didn't have the power to heal so fast. But then Rose remembered what the woman said. "The moon goddess is repaying you for your pain and patience." Rose was happy. She could not believe what to feel. Does she have the healing power? Am I a witch now? Rose asked herself. But Rosalie replied, "The woman told you that it was your gift from the moon goddess for your patience. So you are not a witch, but you have gained the power of witches." Rose nodded her head. Unbelievable. She put her hand on her left knee and caressed it, then saw it had gone. "Rosalie, this is unimaginable. I am a normal Omega who has gained the power of a witch." Meanwhile, in the pack house, Arvin called for a pack meeting. "Prepare everything for the ball. We have to make the best arrangements, like every year. We cannot disappoint our guests." "What about the invitations?" a pack member asked. "Send an invitation to each and every alpha. We want everyone to enjoy our ball. Who has never been invited here, invite them this year," Arvin said while leaning back in his seat. "What about our rival packs, Alpha?" another one asked. Arvin looked at him. The person thought Alpha Arvin had got angry, so he lowered his head. "When I said each and every alpha, I meant everyone," Arvin said. Everyone nodded their heads. Liam looked at Arvin and asked, "What about the alpha of the Blue Moon Pack? Do you want him to come here too?" Everyone looked at Arvin to see his expression. The Blue Moon Pack was the main rival pack of the Chrisman Red Pack. Arvin turned his head to Liam, who was sitting beside him. Arvin thought that before. The alpha had never come once in their pack after Lena rejected him. Now they were rejected mates and there were no laws for alphas like his pack. So Arvin thought it was okay if he came here. It was not like Lena would want to go back with him. And even if Lena wanted to go with him, Arvin would think about it again. He looked at everyone's expressions and nodded his head. Invite the Alpha of the Blue Moon Pack too. Mark's proposal today was Mark's cousin's birthday. So Rose wore a nice dress and put on some makeup. She went to university. Mark told her he would come and pick her up from her university. Rose agreed with him. Rose rarely used makeup, and sometimes Alice took her to some parties. That time Alice put her face on with great makeup. But rather than that, Rose didn't wear makeup. Today she took a foundation to set her face. She used mascara and natural pink lipstick. She was looking good naturally. She went to the university. She was late. She came to the class and saw an angry professor. She knocked on the door. The professor looked at her. "How can I help you, madam?" he asked sarcastically. "I am so sorry, sir. I promise I won't be late again," Rose requested him. The professor was angry, but he controlled his anger and said, "Next time if you come to my class late again, I will give you detention." Rose nodded at him. "Yes, yes sir. I will remember that. Now go and take your seat," the professor said. "Yes sir." Rose went to her seat and sat there. She whispered to Alice, "What happened to him, today? Who knows? Maybe he got beaten by his wife," Alice said while smirking. Delilah, who was sitting beside Taylor in front of their seats, restrained herself from laughing. After all the classes, Rose went to the entrance with Alice and Delilah. She saw Mark was there in his car. At the same time, Arvin came to the entrance area with his friends. He was talking about the ball arrangements with them. When he saw Rose and her friends were there, he stopped. He saw Rose was looking at someone. He turned his head and saw it was Mark. Mark went to Rose and her friends, then started to talk with them. Arvin didn't like it. But he told himself, "It's none of my business. I need to stay away from her." That's it. Arvin looked away from them. Rose introduced Delilah to Mark. "This is Mark, my friend." "Mark, this is Delilah, my friend." They shook hands. Mark frowned. Alice spoke out, "Yeah bro, she is a witch. Do you have any problems? Stop frowning now." Immediately, Mark stopped frowning and said, No Delilah, don't listen to her. It's just I thought you were a werewolf too, but suddenly we shook hands and I smelled you." Mark tried to explain to Delilah. "Yeah, it is totally okay," Delilah said. "Rose, let's go then?" Mark asked. "Yeah, let's go," Rose replied and said bye to her friends. Rose got into Mark's car and Mark drove the car away. Arvin looked at the car until it disappeared from his sight. He looked away from the road and continued to talk with his friends. Rose and Mark were going to Mark's cousin's house. He threw the party in the afternoon. "I thought I was late to pick you up. Did you wait for me long?" Mark asked Rose while driving. "No, Mark. You came just in time. I didn't have to wait," Rose replied. "That's a relief. Even if you came late, I would chat with Alice and Delilah," Rose said. "By the way, Rose." "Yes. Are you okay with Delilah? I mean, we werewolves don't get along with witches. You know they are all not good people, right?" "I know, but not all the people are bad. Some are good too. Delilah is one of them. I am blessed to have Delilah and Alice as my friends." Mark nodded and didn't ask anything more. After some time of driving, Mark parked his car in front of a house. Music could be heard outside. Rose looked at the house. Nice house, Rose thought. They got out of the car. They entered the house. There were so many young men and women drinking and dancing. The house was decorated in club style for the party. "Let's go," Mark said. Rose nodded. Both of them went inside. A man in his late 20s came and hugged Mark. "Bro, I am happy that you have come to my party. Happy birthday, Ian," Mark said and hugged him back. Ian looked at Rose and Rose smiled at him and wished him happy birthday. Ian smiled back and looked at Mark. "You came with your girlfriend. I am happier now." Rose wanted to make it clear that she was not Mark's girlfriend, but before that one of Ian's friends came and he went to meet him. Rose sighed and Mark said sorry to her. "It's okay. He just misunderstood." They went to the bar side and Mark ordered drinks for them. "I won't drink beer today," Rose said. Mark raised his eyebrows. "Then you want to drink something strong?" No. I mean I don't want to drink alcohol. I almost lost my sanity last time," Rose replied. "Last time I wanted to drop you home, but Alpha Arvin came to us and said that he would drop you." "Can I ask why?" Mark asked. "I don't know anything about him. He is just an arrogant man. He told me that he didn't want any unmated Omega to be in danger, so he wanted to help me," Rose said. "He was in your home also the night I went to meet your mom. He came to meet my mom. Maybe he needed something to discuss with her." "I don't know," Rose replied. Mark nodded to her. "You should stay away from him. I heard he is very rude to girls. And he loves his girlfriend a lot." Rose was looking around but paused when she heard Mark. She turned her head to him. "Wait a minute. Do you think I like him or fall for him? So that you are saying all of this to me?" Rose laughed at him. "No, it's just he is the head alpha, you know. Nobody can offend him," Mark said while scratching his neck. Rose looked back in front of her and said, "Life taught me many things. One of the main things was not to fall for anyone without knowing their real personality." Mark was confused. "What?" Rose shook her head. "Nothing. Let's enjoy the party." It was night time. Mark and Rose enjoyed the party. Ian didn't let them go before dinner. They agreed and had their dinner together. Mark told Rose that he wanted to say something to Rose. They went upstairs to the rooftop. Rose could see a nice view from the rooftop. "Yes, Mark, you wanted to say something?" she asked him. Mark nodded and stood beside her in front of the railing and looked at the view. "What is your future plan, Rose?" Mark asked. I wanted to leave the pack soon, but then I decided to stay because of Mom. I will settle here now. I will find a reliable job after graduation," Rose replied to Mark. Mark nodded. "What about love life?" Rose turned her head to Mark. "Love life? Yeah. What about your love life? Do you have a boyfriend?" "No, I don't have any yet," Rose said and laughed. Mark was relaxed after hearing that. Then Mark turned around and took Rose's hand from him. Rose was stunned by Mark's sudden action. "What happened?" she asked. "Rose, I am relieved that you don't have a boyfriend. I have wanted to tell you about my feelings for a long time. But I could not get any chance to tell you." Rose was stunned. "I know this is so sudden for you. But I cannot control my feelings more, Rose. I want you to be with me always and forever. If you want to stay here, I will stay here with you." "What are you saying, Mark?" "Rose, I like you," Mark said while smiling at her. Rose was looking at him with wide eyes. Mark was his close friend. But she never thought of him like that. She did not like him romantically. They spent time with each other abroad. But he never told her or hinted at her about that. Last time when Arvin said he wanted her to go with him though Mark stopped her but then he let her go with Arvin. So Rose never thought that he liked her or anything. About today she thought Alice would come too but then she heard from Alice that she would not come. Mark. Rose said in a lower voice. I know you don't feel the same for me. But at least give me a chance to prove myself to you, Rose. Rose slowly took her hands back. Mark, I am sorry but I thought we are good friends. Yes we are, but we can try, right? You don't have anyone nor do I have any. Rose sighed. She could understand what Mark was feeling because she had been in his place a few days ago. But she didn't want to give him any false hope. If it were anyone else, Rose would think about it, but it was her friend. She didn't like him more than as a friend. I can't, Mark. Rose said and turned to leave. But why? Mark asked. Rose wanted to give him a good excuse so that his heart would not break like hers. Because I have already found my mate. Shopping for ball party. It had been 2 weeks since Mark told Rose about his feelings. That day Rose didn't tell him who her mate was or she got rejected by her mate. Mark told her that it was okay, he could not force her to like him back. Mark told her that they would be friends forever and it would not affect their friendship. Mark left the pack and went abroad after that day. In those 2 weeks, Arvin never tried to talk with Rose or cross her path again. She also didn't want to do anything with him. So they were living like strangers. Rose was sleeping when she heard her phone ring tone. She searched for her phone on the desk beside her bed without opening her eyes. She found her phone and then put it over her ear. Hello Rosai. Alice shouted from the other side of the phone. Rose immediately woke up and sat up. What happened, Alice? Get ready. I am coming to pick you up. Why? Where are we going? Rose asked. We are going shopping. Why? Do you forget what tomorrow is? Alice asked. Rose scratched her head and rubbed her eyes. Then she realized, oh. Tomorrow is the ball. Exactly. We should go to the best shopping mall and buy what looks good on us. I don't feel like going today, Alice. I want to sleep more. No honey, wake up. Don't go to sleep again. This is your first ball as an adult. Do you know how many alpha will come tomorrow? Who knows if some of them will approach you? Alice said. Stop dreaming, Alice. Let me sleep. No. Get out of your bed and get ready. I am coming in 20 minutes. Rose was about to sleep again but heard another shout. Don't sleep. Rose sighed and said, okay. Then she cut the call and got off the bed. She got ready and went downstairs. She saw her mom was watching TV. Mom, I am going with Alice. Yeah, Alice informed me about that. Rose was amazed. Is she my best friend or my mom's? Buy the best dress for yourself. Don't worry about the price. Your mom has a good job, she can afford a nice dress for you. Selena let out. Rose smiled at her and nodded. Okay, Mom. Alice came to pick her up. She got into the car and said, You are so fast. No. I came at the right time. Rose laughed. They reached the shopping mall. They enjoyed their shopping. Alice told her to buy a beautiful black gown. It was tight from the upper part but fluffy from the waist area. Buy it, you will look like a princess, Rossi. No, it will grab attention. I don't want that. Rose said. So what? You have the right to be loved. If someone likes you there and you liked him back, then you both can make a couple, don't you know? Alice winked at her. Rose shook her head and was about to leave the store when she heard Alice. Pack this one. Rose turned and saw Alice was buying the dress. Alice looked at her. Your mom sent me money today, she told me to buy you the best dress. She knew that her daughter would not buy any dresses for money. She knew you were the biggest cheater. So she sent me money directly. Alice said. Rose's jaw dropped. You two are really something else. Sometimes I think you are her real daughter, I just mistakenly became her daughter. Alice laughed at her. She loves me more than you. I told you. Then they bought another dress. That was for Alice. Alice bought a blue mermaid gown for herself. They went to the best restaurant in the shopping mall. When they entered the restaurant, they saw Lena sitting with Rita. Rita saw Alice and Rose. She stood up and said, Hi Ross. Hi Alice. How are you? We are fine. What about you? Alice said with a smile. Alice liked Rita, everyone knew that because Rita was the inspiration for all the female wolves in their pack. She was a strong and powerful alpha female. I am also fine. Lena and I came here for tomorrow. Are you here for tomorrow too? Rita asked. Rita and Lena were patched up again. After Arvin talked to both of them, they behaved well with each other because nobody could offend Alpha Arvin. His words were like laws. Alice nodded at her. Rose glanced at Lena. She was busy with her phone. Come. Sit with us. Rita said. Alice was about to agree but she looked at Lena and then at Rose. Rose was silent. Alice then tried to decline Rita but Rita spoke, Don't worry, Lena doesn't have any problem. Right, Lena? Lena raised her head from her phone and looked up at them. She nodded at them. Yeah sure. Alice and Rose sat opposite them and ordered for them. Actually, I was busy chatting with Arvin. He is too romantic nowadays. Lena said to Rose. Alice rolled her eyes. Rose was quietly looking at Lena. Rita felt the tension and said, Did you two buy your dresses? Yes, we will. Alice replied. That's good. Hope you two will look gorgeous in your dresses. We also bought our dresses. Yes, I will be the Luna soon. So I need to look my best, you know. Lena spoke out. Rose didn't react at all. She didn't care anymore. No matter what, she had to be indifferent. That was it. After having some talk, Alice and Rose left the restaurant and the shopping mall. Alice dropped her at her home. She entered her room and heard her mom talking with someone. She went to the living room and saw her mom talking on her phone. Yes, I will send her, Rivana. Don't worry. Her mom said. Rose understood her mom was talking with the former Luna. She was her mom's good friend. Rose liked them and the way they arranged a birthday party for her. It was great. No, she is not at home. But she will soon. Yes, yes. I will come too. Then her mom hung up the call and turned around. When did you come, Rose? Selena asked. When you were talking on your phone. Yeah, Rivana just called. She told me to send you early. But I told her you would take time because I would come late from the office. Rose nodded. Selena then said, If you want to go with your friends, then you can go earlier, honey. No mom, I will go with you. I will only attend the dinner with them. I will be with Michael and Rivana before that. You will go to the ball party and enjoy it, okay? Okay, Mom. Rose went back to her room. After some time she called Delilah. Delilah, why didn't you come with us today? Sorry Rose. I cannot come with you two shopping. I have to spend time with Grandma, you know, right? It is the weekend. So I came here to meet with her. I can understand. Is Grandma okay? How is she? Is her health okay? Rose asked. Yes. She is fine. She asked about you. I told her you are okay now. It is because of both of you two that I am okay now. Otherwise, it would be impossible. That is only because of the moon goddess. By the way, I asked Grandma about the healing power. She told me she doesn't have the power. Only high-ranked witches have the power of healing by palm. Do you think I am a witch now? Rosalie told me it was a gift from the moon goddess. Your wolf is right. You are not a witch. Hybrids are different. But you get the power of witches. Delilah explained. Will you not come tomorrow? Rose asked. Yes, I will come. That's my girl. Rose said. They talked for some time and then hung up. Alice changed her clothes and thought about the ball party. She had never attended any ball party before. Everyone said it was really amazing. Rose said to herself, hope everything will be okay tomorrow. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.